Welcome to Spirits and Screams.
Welcome to the Spirits and Screams Horror Podcast. I'm your host, Karen, and today on the show, I'm super thrilled to have indie filmmaker, YouTuber, and ghost hunter, José Prendes, aka Master Chaos. You might know him from his latest film, The Exorcist, starring Doug Bradley. I got to talk to him about that film, other work that he's done, and some upcoming projects, as well as horror movies, his YouTube channel, and so much more. So sit back and enjoy the show, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Welcome to the Spirits and Screams Horror Podcast. I'm your host, Karen, and today on the show, I'm super excited to have filmmaker José Prendes, aka Master Chaos. How's it going, Jose?
It's going great, Karen. Thank you for having me on. It's an honor and a pleasure to meet like-minded horror folk and to get a chance to talk about my movies. It's few and far between, but thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm super glad you agreed to come on. And oh my gosh. So a couple months ago, I checked out your movie. First off, I knew your YouTube channel from a while ago. I've been subscribed for a while. And I know you're into physical media collecting and you know everything about every movie that ever existed and all of that. You're quite connected in the horror community. You know lots of people. So your name pops up all the time. But I got to see your film, The Exorcist. Man, I was blown away. So scary, so creepy, and so unique. I really loved it. So,
Thank you.
how did that movie come about?
I guess long story long. It was through the Asylum, which is the company that made Sharknado. That's kind of like their claim to fame.
Right.
And I've been making movies with them for a while. And they after COVID, I got back in touch with them, and we made a movie called Headless Horseman, which was sort of a it was really my throwback to '90s action horror movies.
Right.
So that was a lot of fun, and that was shot in 6 days. That film,
Wow.
yeah. And then we were we were looking for something else for me to do. I had sort of become the de facto horror guy over there because they used to do only horror, but
Okay.
now they're mostly, science fiction disaster movies,
Okay.
shark movies and things like that.
Yeah.
So I've become their horror guy. So we're trying to find a good horror property. And then, of course, Exorcist Believer was getting ready to come out. And I said, oh, let's do an Exorcist movie. I've always wanted to do one. I've got kind of a unique angle on what I'd like to do, and they said yes. Of course, the catch is I had to do this in 6 days as well. It was not easy, but I had an amazing cast and crew, and I think we pulled off a minor miracle, as blasphemous as that is.
You did. 6 days? Like, whoa. My daughter's getting into film and TV and stuff in high school right now. And I'm like, well, she's going to have to work really hard, obviously, to make things happen. What I loved about this film, too, was you got Doug Bradley. You got a big name in there, and people do that. But it wasn't just a cameo. He seemed so incredibly invested in the film. And I'm guessing it's because you're a nice guy and people like you, because it seemed like the whole cast was really put their all into it for you. And I think that's really neat, refreshing, for an indie film.
Well, I think that thank you. I think the most important thing, when you're directing a movie, your responsibility is not only to tell the story, but you are basically the dad or the mom if you're a female director. You're the mom or dad of that set, and you're in charge, and you have to make sure as much as you can that everybody's having a good time, because yes, it's hard, yes it's strenuous, yes it's stressful, but if you're the asshole yelling at people, if you're if you're causing more trouble than anybody else, then
Right.
then it's just going to be a toxic, awful experience, and you don't want that.
Right.
You want to deliver as fun an experience as possible. And Doug, was a clear choice. Like I want Doug. Doug was up for it. He's an incredible actor and an incredibly nice human being. And I'll be honest, I was really scared. I picked him up at the
Okay.
airport. I was like, I want to build a bond with this guy immediately, so he knows that I'm not going to mess around. I'm serious, even though we're doing this in 6 days and it's low budget. I want him to know that I care about his performance as much as anything else.
Right.
And so we bonded very quickly. And he I think, which is important for the entire cast, and he turned in just a phenomenal performance, because the key is he gave a shit. Everybody gave a shit. And if that's missing,
Yeah.
then you get a movie that you can tell is just not as rewarding or as interesting.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I've seen him in a couple of interviews. I was back in the day, I watched Hellraiser, and Pinhead was like huge. And I always knew even though his role was very subtle and simple, he's a good actor. He's putting a lot into it to make it iconic that way. And years later, I saw him on an interview with Grim Life Collective on YouTube, and he just seemed like so down to earth and so sweet. And it's really cool that he's still doing what he's doing, now. But yeah, you can see he's an incredible actor, incredible human being. And it really shows.
One of the things I've just noticed from being in the business, or just meeting people in conventions, is that the horror people are the nicest, kindest, most loving people in real life.
Oh, wow.
I almost never hear any negative feedback about a horror actor on a set. It's usually, an aging action star, or
Right.
a comedian. You hear horror stories about them,
Yeah.
but the horror people are just incredibly lovely. And maybe it's cathartic. They get all their bad side out on screen.
Yeah.
But Doug, and to go back to your other question, it was important for me that we didn't just have a celebrity name for it. We had him for 4 days, so for most
Right.
of the movie.
Yeah.
But I didn't want him to just be the guy on the phone saying, yes, send in the missiles. Like, obviously we shot it real briefly. I wanted to make sure that he was integral to the movie, that he
Right.
was, when you get the movie, you don't think, oh, he's going to be in it for one scene. It's like, no, he's the main freaking character of the movie.
Right.
And he was, God bless him. I don't know if I should say how old he is, but he never complained once. And we were up to, we went over, we would shoot 16-hour days, and he never said anything. He was always, "Oh, whatever you need, Jose, I'm here." I love that.
Very disciplined. He really loves what he does, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you primarily going to stick with horror then? When you create films, are you open to?
I, as a film fan, I love everything, and I think you should, especially as a filmmaker.
Right.
You should be open to everything. Watching comedies, Russian dramas from the 1930s. You should have a big palette, and obviously you
Right.
should have stuff you like, stuff you prefer. I grew up in the 80s, so for me, John Carpenter and that kind of cinema really still speaks to me. So I that's where the fun is, and
Right.
that is at the moment where the money is. But
Right.
yeah, absolutely, I'd love to do a straight comedy. All my things have a little bit of humor in them, but I'd
Right.
love to do just comedy, or a drama. I would 100% be open to that.
Right. Where was The Exorcist filmed?
So this was a big deal, because
Yeah.
if we had done a house, then it's the typical Exorcist movie. Oh, it's a house, but we had 6 days, so the whole movie would have to take place in that one house, and that's hard to do when when you're basically just exorcising a young lady. It gets a little boring, so
Right.
we need to change it up a bit. So I think early on, I had visited a mausoleum near my house in Pasadena, California, and it's an amazing place, beautiful, beautiful place. And I was like, man, I want to make a movie in here one day. And then it just clicked. Ooh, it takes place in the mausoleum, and the girl is possessed. Her dad owns the mausoleum, and that's the reason they're there. And I'm blanking on the name of it right now, but it'll come to me. But it was a mausoleum just outside of Pasadena in Altadena.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's where we ended up filming.
Okay, very cool. It's an amazing set. Like it's just incredible being right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just looks so
With
good.
real dead bodies, by the way. We like it
Creepy.
was all legit. 137,000 dead people around us.
Yeah. So did you have anything weird happen on set then that you
Oh,
could spooky things?
I wish.
You
I
wish.
wish. I mean, we had the whole place to ourselves. So I would walk around at night. I'm a ghost hunter,
I was
normally
gonna
in
ask you that too.
my off
Yeah.
time. So, and I'd actually been to that mausoleum ghost hunting. So I would just kind of walk around and try to feel it out. But nobody had any stories. And even Doug Bradley, who's interested in the paranormal as well, he's like, it feels very peaceful here. It feels very comfortable.
Yeah.
So sadly, no spooky stories.
No spooky stories. You didn't pull out the ghost box and start, asking
No,
questions.
I actually I was gonna bring it, but I couldn't find mine. But I did have like an EMF detector, a K2,
Right.
and I was gonna, but nothing
Nothing
really
happened
major.
during it. Yeah. Oh, that's
Yeah,
interesting. Well, I'll have to look for things in the film footage to see if there's anything there.
yeah. You never know. You never
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. So that's something that you like to do too. I am fascinated. That's why I have my channel Supernatural Horror, because I'm fascinated with ghosts and stuff like that. Um, and I've dabbled a little, but I've never really gone out to a place and, searched for ghosts or anything like that. What's that like? Is it fun?
It's fun, but the reality of it is it can be very tedious,
Yeah.
and you're just kind of waiting around. Well, let's hear if we let's see if we hear something. Let's see if like some. Hey, if you're here, could you make a noise? Could you make your presence known?
Yeah.
We have a device in the middle of the room. If you go near that light, it'll glow brighter. Would you like to
Right.
say hello? It's a lot of waiting around. The shows make it so fun and creepy. I mean, it could be creepy depending on what you bring to it.
Right.
But as a believer, when I put myself in that environment, I become the most skeptical person in the world because
Right.
I'm like, no, that was the wind. No, that was somebody's shoe. But I've there's only one situation where I've actually I would say 100% encountered an apparition.
Right.
But it's very, very rare to get anything to happen.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I'm fascinated. I really want one day to get an actual exorcist on the show just to ask questions, but that's been really challenging. Like nobody gets back to you for that kind of stuff. So, but maybe one day. I'm just fascinated by it. Terrified, but fascinated. Speaking of which, because I'm thinking about how I got into horror, how did you get into filmmaking in the first place? How did that come about?
Very early for me. I was an only child, and movies were my brothers and sisters. It's I lived sort of isolated. I would have friends in school, but at home, my parents were a little older, so it wasn't like nowadays where parents set up play dates for you. It was sort of like what you had. You basically had to be the impetus to get stuff done.
Right.
So movies, ever since I can remember, it's something I've always gravitated toward. And sometimes you speak about what you're destined to do and what you're, what you're called to, and movies have always called to me since my earliest memory. I never wanted to do anything else. I think, watching stuff like Die Hard and RoboCop, you're like, ooh, maybe I'll be a cop. And you're like, no, wait, I don't want to get killed or hurt. So, I'll be an actor in those things. I'll be a part of them, make it in the movies. And then, oh wait, but the real power's in the writing and directing. And then and then I don't necessarily have to be on camera, but I can shape everything. Yeah, that's it. So, absolutely, and then horror movies, mainly because they felt so, they still, I guess, really depending on what generation you grew up in, they feel kind of taboo and kind of secret, like, oh, you can't watch it, you're too young.
Right.
Like, you know what, I'm gonna watch it anyway.
Yeah.
And you end up realizing, I think horror fans have accepted this, or I think maybe subconsciously, I don't know, but horror movies aren't really scary. They are survival manuals. They are, they're almost inspirational, because at the end of the day, usually the hero survives. The final girl triumphs. There's hope. There's the sun rises after all this traumatic experience that you don't ever hopefully have to experience, but you have, through this character. And so I think horror serves a purpose probably more than any other genre. Well, I think comedy laughter is important, but
Yeah.
horror allows you to see the darkness and walk away and say, "I survived that." And
Right.
I think it's a crucial thing. And so for my kids, they haven't really had limits either. They've actually watched The Exorcist twice. My son's 9 years old.
Yeah, my
I,
daughter, the same thing. She would come to me with the Japanese version of The Ring, and that, and say, "Mom, I want to watch this." So we'd go to the video store, and I'd be like, "Okay, let's watch it." Cool. Yeah, my dad exposed me to it when I was 5. Watching all these movies. So yeah,
yeah, and look at us. We're normal people. We don't go out and kill people or eat skin.
no,
We just
exactly.
like it,
Yeah,
you know.
exactly. Do you have formal training then in filmmaking, or is it just something that you've started doing?
um, yeah, I wasn't going to go to college. I knew that I think I'd learn more making a movie,
Mhm.
but to appease my parents, I did a 2 year kind of associate's program in a film school, which
Mhm.
doesn't exist anymore. But that's
Right.
fine. You know, you learn the basics. You learn you know, the 180 rule. You know, the editing things, and you kind of know the lingo before you get into it,
Right.
and then that helps when you're on set where you don't feel like such a dumbass when people are talking about stuff. But honestly, nowadays nobody asks you where you went to college, and I
Right.
think you learn so much more just being a PA, you know,
Okay.
production assistant, or running around getting people. Yeah, you'll do grunt work, but you'll also learn. Oh, I got to make sure this guy gets signed out. Oh, I got to make sure blah 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 blah. Oh, that's what the clapper does. You know, there's all these things that you pick up by osmosis. That it's much more. I think it's easier to learn it if you see it done than read it in a book. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're saying that, because I've been telling my daughter that too. So she wants to go on to just do it, get into it. Because I know in
Yeah.
my life, with the, I've been around for a while, and I found that's the best thing to do, is to just get out and get your hands. I have a degree in art, but I remember my professors telling me, just go, like, stop doing school now and just go and just live it. Go to wherever, and start sweeping for them or whatever, and pick up on what everybody's doing and just do it. So yeah, that's interesting. So what advice other than that do you give up and coming filmmakers, people that
Uh,
want to get into it?
the business is so crazy nowadays.
Yeah.
Um, Mainly because there used to be a game plan. Hey, if you have a really good script, people will read it.
Right.
Nowadays, it's so hard to get anybody to read your material.
Right.
Um, Studios are changing the way they're thinking, especially after the strike that just happened. Um, it's incredibly difficult. I would suggest anybody who has zero connections, enter film festivals. If you make a short
Yeah.
film, I mean, just know that short films aren't going to make you any money. This is a
Right.
practice, and this is a calling card. But you're not going to sell your short film. That's never going to happen. No one buys short films unless you put it on an anthology thing. But you may get like $20. But just know that it's practice, and that's fine to have a calling card. Hey, this is what I've directed recently.
Hmm.
But festivals are good for that, and for screenwriting as well. There's a lot of screenwriting festivals.
Right.
Um, but just know that it takes a lot of work, and a lot of hitting the pavement, a lot of emailing people, a lot of you know, don't cold call. People hate that.
Yeah.
So I would always email first. That's
Yeah.
always the best way to broach, communication.
Right. Cool. Okay. Now I want to talk about the newest film that you have, called Monster Mash. I watched your little video on the behind the scenes stuff, the makeup, and just the way everybody was talking, and Michael Madsen. Come on. you know, um, I'm really excited to see it. I haven't watched it yet, but I'm really excited to see it. So tell us about that one. Did you make it?
Oh,
It was a while ago. It came out a couple months ago, or did it?
no, it came out, well, technically a month ago. It came out at the end of
Oh
March.
wow,
Yeah,
wow.
so it's
Okay,
it's it's new. It's new.
okay,
Yeah, that one was we were actually in post production on Exorcists, and one of the heads of development came over and said, "Hey, we're actually working on a classic monsters movie. You should get on that." I'm like, "Oh my god, hold on a minute. Are you kidding me right now? Like Monster Squad?" And then like, "Yeah, kind of like I want that so bad." You
Oh,
know,
that's fun.
I love those characters so much. And, you
Yeah.
know, again, you know, I rewatching those VHS over and over again when I was a kid. I love the black and white classic monsters
Yeah.
uh, to
Which one
death.
was your
And I,
favorite?
you know,
Me's Dracula.
on it,
I like Dracula.
mm, you know, honestly, I was gonna lean toward if I had to pick between Dracula and Frankenstein, I would actually pick Dracula because it's more
Yeah.
gothic and it just feels like more atmospheric. Um, yeah, yeah, I'm gonna go Dracula, but gosh, it's hard. It's really hard.
Yeah.
Um,
They're all cool in their
Invisible
own way.
Man, they are. They all have their own little things.
Yeah.
Um, but the goal was, you know, they said early on it was gonna be called Monster Mash. I'm like, yes, that's the perfect title for it.
Fun.
Uh, and I wanted to make sure that, you know, I honored the legacy as much as I could. Again, it was
Mhm.
another 6-day movie. It was not going to be easy. I wanted practical makeup. Practical makeup takes time.
Yeah.
So,
Cool though.
you know, yeah, it's absolutely worth it. But then you lose 3 hours at the top of your day and then an hour and a half at the end of your day to take it off. And they told me you have only 12 hours in the day. We cannot go over. So we had
Oh.
8 hours a day to shoot this movie. It was the hardest thing I've ever made. And I strived, you know, as best I could to honor the monsters, honor the legacy, and do my own little monster squad. That was the goal anyway. And then yeah, getting Michael Madsen to play Dr. Frankenstein, it was just kind of a surreal moment.
Wild. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. My
but
favorite movie of his,
yeah,
Thelma and Louise, for sure.
oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He's so cool. Yeah. Cool. I can't wait to see him in it. Yeah.
Yeah, he's great. It's funny when I first met him, we the first time we met was on set. We didn't have time to. I mean, I talked to him on the phone
Yeah.
briefly, but it's such a rush production. You don't have time to go grab coffee or whatever.
Yeah.
So I went up to him and I said, you know what movie of yours I like the best? And you know he's expecting Reservoir Dogs or whatever.
Yeah.
And I said Free Willy,
Oh.
and he goes Free Willy. Wow, that's a good little picture. And then I think I won him over instantly because I didn't come at it like the Tarantino fanboy. It was I really like your acting and here's a movie that you probably don't talk about a lot. And he enjoyed that I brought that I guess to his attention.
Yeah. That you noticed it. Yeah. That's fun. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he's great. He was really fun to work with. We had him for 2 days, 2 out of the 6. And he was at first trying to find his footing, I guess, like, oh, is this comedic? Is it serious? Kind of where the tone was. But I think once he saw how much, you know, love and passion people were putting into it, he realized that we were going not so much for, you know, not so much a tongue in cheek kind of,
Right.
you know, cornball movie. I was trying to be as authentic and genuine as possible,
Mm-hmm.
but I wanted it to be a family friendly
Yeah.
kind of movie. Like, oh, maybe if your kids are interested in classic monsters, you know, you could do Monster Mash, Monster Squad double feature and kind of get them hooked on see them as bad guys and see them as good guys. Cause that was the
Yeah.
goal to make them the Avengers of the classic monsters.
Right. Right. Yeah. I saw that the interviews that you did with the cast, and yeah, I got that feeling from it, though I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know what to expect, but I will definitely let you know. Um, yeah, I'm really excited about it. Also, the practical effects aspect, I so appreciate that you made the effort to do that because I'm huge practical effects. Now, that being said, I expect with you, if you were working with CGI, you would make it work. I don't think there's anything wrong with CGI. I just think sometimes people use it as kind of a template and it just ends up looking cookie cutter. And it's like, oh, why did they do that? That doesn't work at all. But I do think you could make both work. I do.
It's funny you say that. You'll have to let me know because the finale of the movie, without giving anything away, was honestly, I'm gonna be upfront about it. Was imposed on me. That was not my preferred finale.
Right.
And it's very VFX heavy. So some people said they really like it, but I reserve judgment by myself. I'm like, I don't know. I think we could have gone a different direction, but let me know what you think when you watch it. If
Okay.
the
Yeah,
VFX hold up.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I will for sure. For sure. What else did I want to ask you? Okay, let's look at my list because I went all over the place here. I didn't stay in order at all.
Oh, no worries.
Yeah. What sort of things are you planning on doing in the future? Can you let us know any things that you're working on?
Sure. I haven't really signed anything, so I can talk about at least the plans. Uh, uh, there will be, fingers crossed, if Blumhouse goes through with Deceiver, there will be an Exorcist 2. So I'm
Yay!
excited about that.
Me too. Oh, I'm crossing my fingers for that one.
And we've got a pretty interesting story laid out.
I have it. I posted about it, but is that the right way? Right way.
Yeah, she's upside down. There you go. Yay.
Yeah.
Nice. Thank you.
For my collection. I've watched it a couple times already. I love it. So I need
Oh,
the
wow.
second one. I need the second one. So you're obligated now. You put it out there. It's out there. You got to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I know the producers have said it's actually one of the most popular asylum movies of all time.
Whoa.
Yeah,
I'm not surprised. It's
I'm
like
shocked,
on
but yeah.
another level. It's on another level though. Like you put so much effort into it. It's good. Anyway.
We try. I got a prop from the set. I wanted to show you because I noticed in some of your videos your books. So let me see if I can get it to focus. This is I got the blur thing on. No, let me take the blur thing off. Hold on one second. There we go. All right, this is the actual Roman ritual that is used in the movie, and it's the real Roman exorcism ritual.
Are
that you can
kidding?
use. Yeah, and there's still blood on it from filming.
Filming. Oh my!
You still got blood on it.
God, that is cool.
It's an actual exorcism manual right here, and we didn't get a chance to do a commentary. There is actually behind the scenes on that DVD.
Okay.
That pretty extensive, but I don't know that I've mentioned this before, but the actual prayers in the movie are 100% actual exorcism prayers.
Yeah. Okay.
So you could play the movie and save somebody's life. You know.
Now I'm more scared. That's awesome. Oh wow, I didn't know that. That's really cool. You see, this is why I love to talk to the directors and the people behind the movies because you learn so much more than when you first watch it. You know?
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
Yeah. So
and for for the most part, as a film critic, which is what I do on YouTube, I tend to kind of just let the movie speak for itself. I don't necessarily want to know all the details because I don't want I want the final art to be okay. This is what they had and this is what it is. But I do think it's interesting, knowing about afterwards after I've made my opinion on it, sort of what the background really was and why certain things are missing. Like on Monster Mash, one of our biggest issues was Dracula got COVID halfway through, and he's the lead, and we had to shoot around him for the last few days of shooting, so it was very tricky, and so I had to fix my script a little bit so that we could make that work. And I think for the most part it does kind of connect, but making movies is very hard, and every day is a different day, which is kind of why I love it. It's never the same thing every day. It's not like going to work, sitting in an office or whatever, and it's very, very different, but it's heartbreaking, but at the same time, fulfilling when you hear people like yourself who enjoyed the movie, then like, okay, then it was worth the struggle.
Yeah, of course. And that one of my last questions. I have two questions actually. So when you're finished the film and you go to the premiere and you get to see it like in full force with the audience there, is it scary, or is that something you love to do? Yeah. Okay.
It's oh man, I love it because it's the final celebration of everything we've all done come together. Hey, look, this is what we all, struggled for. But it's as the dad, as the captain, absolutely nerve-wracking. Like, oh God, they're gonna hate it. They're gonna hate it. Oh no. And yeah, it's terrifying, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's part of the process. Once you show it to the world, because like I personally don't look for reviews, I don't read reviews, I
Right.
don't seek them out. If people send me a good review, like, oh great, I'm glad that person liked it, because I don't
Yeah.
want to get into a weird thing where
You're worried
uh
about it.
yeah, like where my career or like my choices are based, like, well, Phil in Denver thought that there should have been more shots of feet. Okay, so I got to put more feet shots in the movie.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that whatever I do is kind of me, and then
Yeah.
people like it, great. If people don't like it, that's fine as well.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't affect my choices.
Right. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Okay. Now I have a hard question. It may be hard for you. It might not be, but it's my last question. What is your favorite movie of all time?
Mm. Favorite horror movie is Jaws.
Okay.
Uh,
Oh, that's
and
interesting.
and well, it's a tie. It's Jaws and Scream, but I have I think I've seen both of them like over 100 times.
Yeah.
Scream in terms of fun, Jaws in terms of filmmaking. So I guess I'll split it there.
Right.
But in terms of number one all time favorite, it would honestly, again, I'm sorry, I'll have to split it between It's a Wonderful Life and Jaws. Those two
Wow.
masterpieces.
Yeah, I love those movies too. Jaws is one of my favorites growing up. Like, it terrified me. I was afraid to have a bath after that movie. It was so scary back in the day. But I loved
Yeah,
it. Yeah. Still to this day, love it too. Really, really, really classic film for
great.
sure.
It has
Yeah.
not
Awesome.
aged. I mean, I think that some of the best movies don't age. I mean,
Yeah.
It's a Wonderful Life is black and white, but that movie is timeless because it speaks to the human condition.
Right.
It's not reliant on VFX or whatever. It's really all about a question we all have at some point in our lives.
Yeah.
What have I done? What am I worth? Have I made a difference? It's powerful, powerful stuff. And Scream, I think,
Yeah.
will never die because it is. I mean, it's absolutely the best thing to come out of the '90s.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I love that franchise. I'm not super into franchises. That's never been my thing because I grew up in the 70s and we just didn't do that. We thought it was crazy that they would make like a third, a fourth, a fifth Friday the
Mm,
13th. I'm coming around to it now because I'm seeing everyone's reviews and things and I get it. I appreciate it now. I like that. But Scream is one of the franchises I'm kind of cool with. I kind of like that one actually. So yeah, I
yeah,
get it.
yeah.
I get it for sure. And of course, the Exorcist franchise is going to be amazing. I'll definitely follow
I,
that.
hopefully, if
Yeah.
I mean, second one's gonna be pretty epic. If we're allowed to pull it off the way I want to do it, then we're
Yeah.
gonna go in a very interesting direction.
Yeah. Cool. Cool. So will everything you do be on physical media or is it streaming or how can we watch these movies?
Unfortunately, physical media is not as strong as it used to be.
Right.
Only certain movies get it. I think Exorcist got it because just the genre is so popular, and people would sort of gravitate towards it.
Right.
Monster Mash, unfortunately, has no physical media plans at this time. It's
Okay.
streaming on Amazon, or it should
Okay.
be streaming on Amazon. I know it's
Yeah.
on Apple TV, Fandango at home, which used to be Voodoo.
Hmm.
It'll be on Tubi by Halloween, I believe.
Okay.
And Headless Horseman did have, excuse me, did have a Blu-ray media book release in Germany, but that was limited. I think that's sold out now. So
Okay.
I don't know. It really depends. But so mostly streaming, I think, is where you'd be able to find all these things.
Okay. Okay. Well, we've hit our time limit there, and I told you I wouldn't keep too long. So yeah, I'll have all of his links and everything in the description box below, so people can check you out and find these movies. Um, yeah. Is there anything else you want to plug or put out there?
Let's see. Yeah, check me out on YouTube, Master Chaos. I basically I've taken a step back because the filmmaking career sort of taken off, and so I'm sort of focusing on that.
Yeah.
Because as you know, Karen, YouTube isn't necessarily the moneymaker, that people think it is. Uh, so It's right now sort of a hobby on YouTube, but I do videos at least once or twice a month. I've got this running panel show called Voyage to the Bottom of the Barrel, and where we review two bad movies once a month, and so that's sort of a
Okay.
rotating panel show. I'm going to have you on, Karen. I hope you're ready for it. You'll
Sure,
have
I'll
to
do
watch
it.
you have to watch some really terrible movies, but
I'm in.
yeah, everybody watching, keep your eyes open. Karen will be subjected to some total garbage pretty soon.
Okay. Oh, that's fun. That sounds fun. Yeah, sure. I'm up. I'll do it. Yeah,
Right.
for sure. Yeah. Okay. Well, man, this was so much fun. I'm really excited for everybody to see this. And I will be reviewing The Exorcists soon. And then we'll post up this interview. But yeah, thanks so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it. And I can't wait to see more of your movies.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I sure did. It was a real pleasure talking with Jose, and he's welcome back anytime. Go check out all of his socials and his films, please. Everything's linked down below. And I just want to say a big thank you to Jose for coming on the show, because I find it really exciting and interesting talking to the people behind the films, the ones that create everything. I just love that. And the ghost hunting aspect and all of that combined together is really, really cool. And I cannot wait for The Exorcist 2. So hopefully that project happens pretty soon. And I am going to check out Monster Mash too. I'll have a review coming for that very soon as well. Really looking forward to that. I love practical effects so much. You know I do. So you guys, drop your comments down below. Like the video if you liked it. And subscribe to the channel. Remember, but only if you want to. Only if you want to hang out. There's no pressure there. Well, I guess that's it for now. I love you guys so, so much. Thank you for watching, and we will see you again really soon on the next one. Bye, guys.